The death toll at the Eland mine shaft rises to 29, with more bodies expected to be discovered. Unions slam General Motors' plans to leave South Africa. Good evening, I'm Flola Dwaba. A very warm welcome to eNews Direct.
Hi, I'm Kate Nokwe.
You can comment on our stories. Find us on Twitter and Facebook. Look for @eNews Direct. You can also find all the day's biggest stories on enca.com/direct.
You can also track our main stories using the following hashtags: Eland Mine and General Motors.
But first we start with this. Police in Welkom have recovered the bodies of 29 suspected illegal miners who died last week. The retrieval operation has been underway for 3 days as the disused mine shaft. Free State authorities say they expect to find more victims.
It is believed an explosion on the 11th of May killed over 40 illegal miners. The police confirming that 29 bodies have been brought to the surface, but they say the body count is likely to rise.
Underneath, the mines are intertwined, interlinked, and you can travel as far as 23 kilometers or 13 kilometers to come out here. We are being briefed by the mine management. It seems as if some of the bodies were carried as far as 13 kilometers away.
The explosion didn't occur at Harmony Gold's decommissioned Eland mine shaft, but this is the point where recovered bodies are being brought to the surface. It is said that Zamas bring the bodies to a particular point, and then the recovery teams are ultimately responsible for bringing the bodies to the surface. Anxious family members have visited both the morgue and the mine shaft, hoping that their loved one is one of the arrested and not the recovered. Michael Apple, Welkom, in the Free State.
The ANC caucus wants to set up a parliamentary ad hoc committee to look into party funding. Chief Whip Jacob Zuma says political parties have already been informed about possible regulation. Mthembu says parties are too reliant on private donors.
Jackson Mthembu says transparency is key to ensuring political parties are not unduly influenced by private donors. Regulation would counter perceptions of corruption.
Currently, political parties are not required to disclose or report publicly on either the source of their finances or the uses to which funds are put.
The state provides 150 million to be shared proportionally among the political parties in parliament. Mthembu says this is not enough.
Democracy is quite an expensive project, and maintenance and sustenance of democracy is very expensive.
The matter of party funding has already been tabled for other political parties.
It's one of the briefs that the ad hoc committee will have to assist us with, so that we don't fund everything and anything that parties are doing.
Civil society has been calling for the regulation of funding for years. So why is the ANC only responding now?
We are also influenced by interaction with civil society that have said to us, ANC, are you against transparency?
The motion to form an ad hoc committee is to be tabled in coming weeks. Bongadlulane, Parliament.
President Jacob Zuma has visited the family of Courtney Peters in Cape Town. Zuma says Peters' murder shows that something has gone wrong in society. The body of the 3-year-old girl was discovered in a shallow grave days after she went missing. A man who assisted with the search is in custody facing rape and murder charges. President Zuma says he's shocked and repulsed at the little girl's killing.
I come to convey the condolences and sympathies from government of what has happened to them. It is shocking. People can do things that are beyond understanding. That a man is here could rape the child, kill the child in the bedroom, as the father was describing break every bone in order to make the child fit in a plastic so that he goes out with the child to go and throw the child. It shows something has gone wrong in our society.
Former Hawks head Burning Ntlemeza's latest bid to return to work has ended in failure. Ntlemeza wanted a restraining order against Police Minister Fikile Mbalula after accusing him of harassment and interfering with his return to work. Judge Sheila Mphahlele struck the case from the roll, saying she wasn't convinced it was urgent.
It was second time unlucky for ousted Hawks head Burning Ntlemeza. His first bid to interdict Police Minister Fikile Mbalula from blocking his return to work was removed from the court roll because of shoddy paperwork. Last month, Mbalula decided not to challenge a ruling by 3 judges that Ntlemeza should never have been appointed because of damning court rulings that found him biased and dishonest. Burning Ntlemeza will seek to challenge the ruling that his appointment was irrational in the Supreme Court of Appeal on the 2nd of June. He's arguing that no court has the power to remove him from office, and this can only be done through a parliamentary process. Ntlemeza argued the appeal bid meant he could return to work pending its outcome, despite the High Court effectively ordering his removal regardless of any appeal. Judge Sheila Mphahlele was also unconvinced, finding that Ntlemeza had failed to show he'd suffer any real prejudice if he didn't go back to work.
I am of the view that this matter is not urgent and should be struck off the roll.
Mbalula's office says he's studying the ruling, but it's clear he feels vindicated by the judgment. It effectively confirms that his decision that Ntlemeza should not return to work was correct. Karen Morn, Johannesburg.
The drive to vaccinate over 1 million children against measles in Johannesburg is now underway. 17 cases have been reported in Gauteng so far, including 11 in one family. Health authorities are carrying out emergency measles vaccinations in a number of provinces.
These pupils are queuing to receive a life-saving vaccine. Measles spread through saliva by coughing, sneezing or being in close contact with an infected person. It can lead to diarrhea, dehydration, brain infection, lung infection or death. Parents have signed consent forms allowing their children to receive the vaccine. The National Institute for Communicable Diseases has found a number of cases of measles around the country. 31 cases were reported in the Western Cape in the first 2 months of the year. 17 cases were found in Gauteng in March and April. The NICD says it's also found cases in the Northwest and a number of other provinces. Johannesburg city officials say the emergency vaccination campaign is targeting children between the ages of 6 months to 15 years old. Officials say there are still some challenges.
There has been a few challenges, particularly in certain religious groups, because of the measles vaccine and its association with pork. That could be an issue. So even there, we need to continue to get their buy-in, and we make use of healthcare professionals who understand those dynamics.
Authorities hope to eradicate measles in the next 3 years. Malungelo Boy, Johannesburg.
All right, let's take a look at news from further afield now. The U.S. Justice Department has appointed former FBI Director Robert Mueller to lead an inquiry into alleged Russian interference in last year's election. Calls for an investigation into possible collusion during President Donald Trump's campaign mounted last week after he fired FBI Director James Comey. Trump has lashed out at the probe, describing it as a witch hunt. And rescue workers in Sri Lanka are searching for 5 people who remain trapped under a collapsed building. At least 23 people have been injured. The 5-story building, formerly a wedding reception hall, was under construction when it collapsed during a thunderstorm. The cause of the collapse is being investigated. Well, the South African Council of Churches released its report on the unburdening panel at the iconic Regina Mundi Church in Soweto. The report is a consolidation of information received from corruption whistleblowers opting not to approach authorities due to fear of victimization. SACC General Secretary Bishop Melusi Mbulwana said the ANC government has lost its moral radar and could be inches away from a mafia state from which there could be no return. And it appears that most of the injuries sustained by Henry van Breda on the day his parents and brother were murdered with an axe could have been self-inflicted. This is according to the testimony of a forensic pathologist in his murder trial in the Western Cape High Court. She also testified that his sister Marley had suffered injuries to her wrists, which created the impression that she was trying to defend herself. A policeman also testified that van Breda's fingerprint was found on a knife linked to the crime. On van Breda's version, he was stabbed by an attacker. All right, for more on these stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at eNews Direct, or you can go to our website, enca.com/direct. And after the break, it's your business and weather forecast. You stay with us. Welcome back. Unions have slammed General Motors' plans to leave South Africa. The car maker says it's leaving the country by the end of the year after selling its local manufacturing operations to Isuzu.
With this announcement, GM is transforming its business globally. As a result, the sale and manufacturing of Chevrolet vehicles in South Africa will be phased out by the end of 2017.
After 90 years in South Africa, General Motors has announced that it's pulling out of the country. The company's vice president says the decision follows an assessment of its South African operations. The Chevrolet brand will be taken off the market by the end of the year, and locally manufactured Chevrolet utility bakkies and Spark hatchbacks will come to an end. General Motors has sold its Opel brand to Peugeot Citroën, and it's working with the new owner to evaluate future opportunities for the Opel brand in the country. But the company says existing Chevrolet and Opel customers will continue to receive after-sale support. It's also answered a few customer concerns on its website. Chevrolet says parts will be available for up to 10 years after production of different models has ceased. Customers who want to resell their vehicles as a result of the announcement will also have to follow standard business practices. Customers' existing warranties will not be affected by the changes. The company says it will also stop selling cars in India. Unions have slammed the announcement, saying South African workers will be badly affected.
All right, time now to take a look at the markets. Your weather forecast is up next.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Weather Centre. Let's start off with a quick check of the satellite imagery, and we see that there really wasn't much going on over the country today. Clear and dry conditions for most places, and that allowed for a cold start over the Highveld as well as the southern mountainous areas. But the sunshine in the afternoon pushed temperatures above 20 degrees for most places, and there was a little bit of cloud development over parts of Mpumalanga. Let's take a look at your forecast for Friday. We don't expect much to change. KwaZulu-Natal will be sunny and dry once again, and after a cold morning for the interior, temperatures will climb into the mid-20s all across the province for the afternoon. Very similar conditions for the Eastern Cape. Port Elizabeth will start off at a cool 11 degrees but climbing to 23 later on. While in the Western Cape, there's going to be foggy conditions at first over the southern coastline. That fog could hang around into the early afternoon, but later on it will become clearer and drier, and we see temperatures rising into the 30s for some parts of the western interior. A typically very cold morning for Sutherland, starting off at -4, but the afternoon won't be too bad all across the Northern Cape. And in the Free State, we could have frosty areas at first, but the afternoon hours will also see temperatures climbing above 20 degrees. Not too much change for the northwest. Sunny, dry and warm weather for the afternoon once again, but cold at first. And over Limpopo, we're going to see the low-veld areas getting into the upper 20s, both Musina and Phalaborwa climbing to a maximum of 29. Milder weather continues on the Mpumalanga Highveld, Ermelo reaching a high of 20, while eMakhazeni will get to 1 degree warmer than that with a maximum of 21. And finally into Gauteng, it's going to be a very cold morning for Vereniging, 2 degrees as your starting temperature, climbing to 24 later on, and it's going to be a sunny day for Pretoria with the same high in the forecast. Let's look ahead to the weekend when things remain really unchanged over South Africa. Sunny, dry and mild to warm conditions all across the area, and that persists all the way through to Sunday when the Western Cape will still be waiting for the much needed winter rain.
Right after the break, it's the new finger spinning craze that's helping some children concentrate for longer. Do stay with us. Well, thanks for staying with us. It's the new craze that's spinning out of control.
Fidget spinners have conquered classrooms and cubicles across America and Europe, and now making their way to South Africa.
While they may seem like just a toy, experts say they could help pupils who struggle to concentrate.
Take a spin around YouTube these days and they're everywhere. It's the fidget spinner, the must-have toy which isn't just fun, it's functional too. The spinners may seem like a distraction, but some experts say they can actually have the opposite effect, if they're used the right way. Claire Omani, a psychologist at the Child and Baby Wellness Center, says spinners help pupils focus, especially if they're struggling with attention problems.
I think when we look at the clinical spinners, they work specifically with learners or individuals that struggle with attention and concentration, as well as children that struggle with autism, perhaps Tourette's. And what it does, it helps to direct or refocus their attention for a short period of time.
Meet Ashley Hegland. She suffers from stress-related Tourette syndrome, a disorder which causes verbal tics. And she's been struggling to concentrate in class. But this gadget is putting a whole new spin on school.
The first time that I did use it was in maths, when my maths teacher was explaining something, and then usually I would doodle or do something that actually distracts me, but then I was spinning it under my desk and I was actually listening to what he was saying.
The craze isn't just for kids. Andrew Hartgill restores antiques for a living. His son asked him to make a fidget spinner. Now he just can't get enough of them. He's made 12 so far.
It occupies the mind, keeps me out of mischief.
Yeah. Eric Miller, Johannesburg.
All right, we're going to start the breaking news story now as we recap the top stories. Speeding vehicles has struck pedestrians on a sidewalk in New York City's Times Square. According to an announcement nearby, the New York Police Department closed off, and there are 10 people being treated for injuries on the ground after the collision at the Midtown Manhattan tourist site. All right, a recap of the main stories then. The death toll at the Eland mine shaft rises to 29, with more bodies expected to be discovered. Unions slam General Motors plans to leave South Africa. Well, that's a wrap from the eNews Direct team.
Your favorite drama, Rhythm City, is coming up next.
Cheers.